Here we go. Oh, boys. How's it going?
It's
Good
going.
morning. Good morning. Nice and early, just in time to make sure Welsknight gets out of bed. And, he loves these early morning podcasts. They're lots of fun.
I've been up for 6 hours, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
6 hours. Oh,
Yeah.
that's back to the old military sleep, 2 hours sleep, and then you're good for the next 48.
I'm on a mission to like reset my sleep schedule and fix it so I actually go to bed when it's dark outside and wake up when it's light outside. It's going well.
Instead of the opposite and shit.
Yeah, instead of the opposite, instead of going to bed at 8 in the morning when my wife wakes up and waking up supper time.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good. And so, Karak, you got a heat wave going on in your area.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, here in nice, balmy Edmonton, it's just a lovely, perfect temperature. It's not too hot,
Yeah,
not
it is
too
not
cold.
here. It is not here.
No, oh, that's too bad. We only have one air conditioner in the house, and it's because most of the year it's there's snow on the ground, so it's kind of not a big deal.
I have a fucking air conditioner like every 7 feet. I don't know about you, but
That would be awesome.
I can bit mine like we talked about prior to the podcast. I'll just put everything right near those ACs. Make me some cash.
Oh, good stuff. I need to get something off my chest. I watched Infinity War, and I know it's not gaming related, and no spoilers. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but my God, attention deficit disorder in film form. It doesn't focus on anything for more than 30 seconds at a time. It's jumping all over the place. I couldn't. Sorry, we saw that last night. It was just too. Have you seen it? No.
Yeah, I saw it. I liked it, but I think that all Marvel have just progressed to that point now. So what you said is completely accurate. I certainly did. Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to say. It's like a 360 spin with an explosion every 7 seconds, and then another cutscene. It's MTV cutscenes, the movie, really.
And then you gene splice him with Adam Sandler, and
Yeah. Oh yeah, the comedy has. If you remember when the first ones came out, there was some good comedy, but it wasn't as prevalent. And then when you see like Guardians, Ragnarok, and now this, you're like, damn. I mean, it's like 15 Chris Rocks out there.
Just so
which
much.
Is a little odd, yeah.
Oh goodness. So, what have you guys been up to? What have you been playing lately? Things that are exciting, I hope.
Absolutely. So funny story. My wife went on a business trip recently, right? And she's the type to buy souvenirs. And they went to Waco, Texas. And she's really into HGTV, and they went to Magnolia or whatever, and they have like this gift shop, and she spent like a couple $100 on souvenirs, on coffee cups, and like it's all good, right? Like a lot of it was you can never have too many coffee cups.
Everybody needs more mugs, right?
A lot of it's like practical stuff. But she came back, and I was like, so since you spent all this money on souvenirs, like I'm entitled to spend that much money on like a PlayStation 4, right? And a couple of games. And my wife, being the amazing and loving wife that she is, said, yeah, absolutely, go for it. So I bought a PS4 like 2 weeks ago and played all of God of War, played through Horizon Zero Dawn all the way, which is a game that I missed out on because it was an exclusive, and I'm like, I want it so bad. I'm about to start, what's the Indiana Jones one? Uncharted, yeah, thank you. Uncharted 4, starting that, all sorts of stuff. I've been playing a lot of PS4 stuff, obviously doing all the normal channel stuff too, like, the Minecraft and the Isaac and all that other kind of stuff. But the big one was God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, finally, after like forever of waiting to get my hands on it.
Very nice. I can see her in the chat saying she got maybe 4 cups. And you got a PlayStation 4. I mean, the numbers match, right?
4 cups and like a cutting board and a placemat and a table and a cow piggy bank and a couple of magnets and.
Yeah, that sounds fair. That's
it sounds like a fair trade-off. It's perfectly fair.
I'm right with
exactly.
You. Have
I totally
you
agree.
Do you have Bloodborne?
I do.
Okay.
I have it. I haven't started it yet.
I look forward to hearing your thoughts on that when you get a chance to play it.
Me too.
I'm sure that game is something else.
I'm sure I will enjoy it. I've enjoyed the other Dark Souls titles that I've played, so
yeah,
I have a feeling I'll enjoy it. I'll get frustrated at it and scream and yell and be angry at some point, I'm sure, as I do with most Souls games.
Yeah.
But,
Oh yeah. That's
to be
that's
expected.
a part of the experience. Yeah. Yeah. Default. Karak, what are you playing?
Backwards compatible stuff on the Xbox X, which I think was one of the topics I had sent. If you want to talk about it in the future, I'm blown away by the remasters. $40 for a remaster from like Ubisoft or whatever for Assassin's Creed or something like that, and or the Dark Knight games. And then I'm playing Red Dead on the Xbox X, and 4K. It's like all enhanced. Fallout, all enhanced. There's something just amazing about a company doing that for free. And it's so cool to just hit a button and it'll be like, you want to download this? Yeah, download, and then turn it on and be like, what the fuck? So that's what I have been doing. I've just been going back and doing whatever's backwards compatible. So KOTOR 2 is what I'm going to do soon, because I think that went live too for backwards. Red Dead's the big one, though. Even ignoring Red Dead 2, if it never came out, I've always been a fan of Red Dead. So it's just jumping back in, and that one and Bully. I don't know if I think you and I have talked about Tarmac Bully, but
we've talked about it. I don't think I've ever actually played it. Same with Red Dead. I got into some of the GTA games, but not the other Rockstar stuff.
Right, and that's the thing that I think is so cool. Is like you have like Bully, you have LA Noire, and then you have their big ones. And I'm hoping that we see some of their older ones get this, like a Bully get an enhanced. But that's pretty much. And then some games for review, and Pillars of Eternity too, which I can say I'm playing. But
stuff that you can talk about and stuff that you can't. And
yeah, the NDAs are starting to get a little odd now. It's like you can't even mention on Twitter that you're playing this game. All right, well,
really,
you just have to. Yeah. The last two have been pretty crazy.
That's bizarre to me.
It's anti PC PR, really.
Well, I'm seeing the other way around, or have been for the last year-ish. There's more tendency to let people get footage out earlier, right? And I know you're going to see some different games than I do, but in the general sense, like the streaming embargo tends to open up a week before, like Frostpunk, right? Here's this preview build, everybody can go ahead and play it, but the review build itself, is locked for another week or whatever the case, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it's everybody coming to grips with journalists, influencers, and then like quick look people, and trying to figure out where everybody fits. And because I'm a reviewer, I think they're nervous that like I'll say, which I've never done, but they're probably nervous that I'll be like, at the end of God of War, blah 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 happens, which I would never do. But I think some companies are really nervous about that, and that's why a lot of times you won't even see a YouTuber get a big game, because they're so nervous that video footage would ruin it, even though an IGN will do both a written and a video. But the NDAs are pretty crazy. The NDA we just had was like, you can show the first one level. That's it in the review. You can show nothing after the first level. Okay. That's pretty tight. So that's what I've been doing.
That's a really good lead into our first talk. But okay, I have to talk about Beat Saber. I have to. It's so good. It has absorbed my life for the last week and a half. Just I haven't done anything else. I played a little bit of Binding of Isaac, but that's basically it. Like I've played Beat Saber, God, at this point 3 or 4 times a day. I'll just load it up, play through a handful of songs, play for 20 minutes or whatever, and then stop. And I'm not stopping because it's not fun anymore. I'm stopping because I'm exhausted. I just can't. I can't do it. My back
you're also
is
good
sore.
at it.
My shoulders are sore. Oh, it's so good. They really need to get on the custom songs thing in a hurry, though.
Do you think that you're affected by being good at it? Because I was talking to some other reviewers, and it was like, people be all, do you see a game differently if you're good at it versus bad? And when I saw you post in that expert level, and I clicked your video, I was like, yeah, I'll check this out. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, because you're just like, and I was like, and obviously when you're playing it, it is different. Like you'll see something that looks impossible on a video, and then you'll do it. And you'll be like, okay, the cues are done accurately. But I think you've got 2 expert videos so far. And that first one, even more than the second one, I don't know what it was about the song, but pretty soon, like people in my Discord were like, what the fuck? I mean, how is anybody even moving that fast? Like it's crazy. And then the person you posted, I can't remember her name. The person who
did it in the T-Rex costume. Oh no.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Like,
the
Jedi costume.
Yeah, through Liv. So, I don't think so. I don't think that skill is effective. I mean, I'm a big rhythm game player, have been forever. I did tons of time in Rock Band and Guitar Hero and all that kind of stuff, right? So I have some experience with the rhythm stuff, and I don't. I think a lot of people look at Beat Saber videos and think that, you know, this is impossible. Really, it's just muscle memory, right? Like they're looking at the whole package of all of this crazy stuff's going on, but really, like if you kind of tone it, or like bring yourself back a little bit and look at it like a drummer would, where each hand is just doing something in a different way, and each hand has their flow and what they're going to. It's not actually that fast. But as far as people enjoying it that don't have a high skill level, I have some friends that I had over, and you know, they were terrible, and they loved it. They loved every minute of it. Playing on easy, and then and you get to watch them get better, and as they start to figure out, okay, well, no, now I understand the movements, so they're moving up to normal, and one of them starts trying songs on hard, and you know, it's really a muscle memory thing more than anything else. I think it's just so good. I love it. I want to know how many people are going to buy VR because of that game. I think it's the highest rated VR game now already in just like a week, less than a week, which is crazy. It was actually on the top sellers list for a while.
Oh wow!
Like fan-frickin-tastic.
Good for them too.
Yeah, I'm so stoked for them.
That's awesome.
They were completely surprised by it when I talked to them at GDC. Like they were confused and totally overwhelmed by the amount of press that they'd gotten and people wanting to see this game. It's just a great idea. I hope they don't run into any trademark problems. I could see that. You know, Disney is a little bit hungry
for the music.
Way. No, for the lightsabers.
The lightsabers. Yeah, I mean, all I know is I think a good deal of it. I mean, hats off to that guy. A good deal of it's the music for me, because if I see a rhythm game and they're like B-52s or whatever, I'm like, yeah, okay, no, that's all right. Like I don't need to jump into that. Yeah. Oh my God. In rock, if I ever saw that in fucking was that Guitar Hero or Rock Band that one was in?
I think it was Rock Band.
Yeah, because I was skipping that shit. I was like, we're done. Like not even happening. And if that showed up in Beat Saber, I'd be like, what? And it just depends on the music. And that soundtrack that's my kind of stuff. Like or at least one of the ones that I really like that style of music. And oh man, so good. And it fit the movements. We've seen a lot of rhythm games that don't, where the buttons don't really fit what's happening. And VR seems even harder because you have to move versus A, X, A, X, A. You know, where it's an animation that can draw out so it can look smoother.
Yeah, but there's also no buttons that you need to press, right? Yeah, it's just swinging your arms around.
Just swinging. I'm gonna break a fucking wand. I already know. Like if I play that game, I'm gonna throw one on accident.
Well, no, I mean you have to use the wrist straps. You have to. It's safer for everybody involved, especially people that are watching you play.
Come on over. Sorry about your teeth.
Whoops. Actually, and that makes so they have the one saber version, which only has a couple of songs and it's only an expert skill level for it, where it's only one color, and so if you want to play it and not have your arm fall off, you have to switch hands. So you can't use the strap, which is a problem. I have maybe thrown the controller once.
Yeah,
that was not ideal, not in any respect. I want them to get more songs out, and the custom song thing I think is a really big deal. The community will do a great job with that, as long as things can be rated properly. I mean, it would just be Steam Workshop. But I think the really slick thing. So a lot of these games kind of run into a weird piracy gray area, right? Where you have to own the song in order to do this. Spotify has an API. You could link these things together where somebody creates, here's what the game block layout needs to be. And when you pick this in the Steam Workshop, it goes over to your Spotify and it plays the song.
Yeah.
I think that would be totally doable, and it would get around the piracy thing. Just be really slick. I don't know. I just had to gush about it. I've had so much fun with that game. It's fantastic. We should probably talk about our actual topic of the month, though. Single player games. And there's been a lot of news lately about single player games doing really well. Very specific genre of multiplayer games that's also doing really well, and some people that seem to think that one is hurting the other, and also that Twitch is hurting single player games in general. But Karak, you played a lot of God of War, and you thought it was quite excellent.
Yeah.
Is there any danger, do you think, of single player games dying off, or having? I mean, at either the indie or the AAA level? You know, are we in a weird spot where there's only a couple of really good single player developers anymore?
No, I don't think we are. I think that for some companies we are. This all started when one of the EA reps was like, single players died, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it may have for your IPs. And it's completely valid that it's possible that the way they steered their company and the development that they did, that they steered themselves away on their own from single player. But you have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which looks to be massive. You have the Uncharted games. You have, even though some of these have a mini element, most of them are known for their single player. Horizon Zero Dawn was the #1 exclusive prior to God of War for Sony, and it sold insanely well. And I think Frozen Wild sold well, which was one of the best DLC packages you could get for a game. So to me, it just seems like, no, we're not. It seems like what really needed. And, I mean, it's a bad time. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's a bad time for developers. It's hard. It's hard for fans. It's hard for everybody. And I think that, honestly, it's almost like an attaboy more than anything. It's almost like you feel down. You're like, maybe I'm not doing the best job. And somebody comes by and says, no, you are. And you're like, okay. I honestly feel like that's sort of the way we were for a while, where it's like single player. And then some single player games came out and they were like, no, man, it's okay. And we just sort of moved forward from there. Because I don't see it's not dying. Like there's entire companies that's what they're going to be based around, whether it be a Hellblade or something like that. Those are doing Elix. Those are doing really well for those respective companies.
Yeah. Wells, you primarily play single player games. I mean, Minecraft has a big multiplayer component, but as far as the variety of games that you've been talking about, like Isaac and you know, PlayStation 4 purchase, you've had a chance to go through Horizon, which is I haven't done the expansion, but the game was fabulous.
Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it immensely. I think, I mean, I don't think single players go anywhere. I think there's plenty of really big IPs out there that I can't imagine being multiplayer in a way that would be like substantial. Yeah, exactly. You know, you got your stuff like your Assassin's Creeds and your Zeldas. Like, can you imagine a proper fully fledged multiplayer Zelda title? Like, no. I mean, there's just so many out there that I don't think single player is going away. I think like Karak said, for some IPs, yeah. Like, I would not be in the slightest bit surprised if a lot of like the first person shooters out there, those IPs move away from single player campaigns entirely. In fact, didn't Call of Duty recently announce that the next Call of Duty isn't even going to have a single player campaign at all?
Was that an announce, or was that more of a leak?
No, I think that was announced that Blops would not have. Wasn't it Call of Duty Black Ops 3 would not have? Right. 3,
I mean, I guess at a certain point,
I can't remember which number they're on.
At a certain point, you do remove the arm that's afflicted with leprosy, right?
Right.
You know, they haven't had good campaigns in several generations of that game.
Yeah, because it's been about the multiplayer for the last 12 Call of Duty titles. Like, that's what people buy Call of Duty for, is, you know, the online multiplayer. But yeah, I don't think single player campaigns are going anywhere. What I really want to see come back is couch co-op. Give me couch co-op. Give me games that I can sit on a couch with and play with my wife and play through together and have an actual, like, substantial co-op experience.
Yeah.
You know, like, I shouldn't have to buy a second TV and a second Xbox One or a second PS4 so that my wife and I can play the same games together. Like, so give me split screen co-op back.
So on the topic of PlayStation 4, have you played A Way Out?
Not yet. It's on the list.
So there's your
I've only had the PS4 for like 2 weeks, man. You got to cut me a little.
Well, I'm just tossing it out there. I haven't played through the whole game. I chatted with some of them at GDC and got to see a little bit of it. But it's very much a couch co-op. Now, whether you have, you know, maybe anything more than 2 playthroughs on it is probably debatable. playing it from each character's side.
But you only need one copy, which is awesome.
Yeah,
that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Even if it's not couch co-op, if you're like online, the fact that somebody else does not need it's ace, especially for the cost of the game, which I think is only 20. Is it 19 or 29? Can't remember. It's a budget price though.
It is. Yeah, it's not a AAA thing. That's not even new though, right? StarCraft, the original StarCraft, you could.
I don't think it's new, but it's certainly not familiar.
No, that's true. No, for sure. Yeah. You're right. I just mean like you could spawn a copy and play multiplayer with friends. What I've never really understood is why multiplayer has to be over the internet and can't be split screen too. It's not.
I can give you the answer of one developer.
Yeah,
if you want one.
Sure.
One of the Halo developers said that what happens is currently with the overabundance of analysis channels like mine. You do analysis sometimes, but neither one of us do graphics ones. But you have like your digital foundries.
Right.
What happens is people focus on the worst looking picture possible, and it becomes a PR issue. And when you have, for example, and then QA is a bitch. So if you're just drawing from a single player standpoint with one screen, then you know what a grenade is going to do, regardless if a grenade hits another series of grenades. But if you have two people playing and they both throw grenades, then your draw calls for your GPU are doubled. Like all of your technical requirements are doubled. So a lot of them are a little tentative with the current, I would say, trend of saying 60 FPS, 4K. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have 60, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. And so they're like, okay, well, the way to do that then, without absolutely minimizing the graphics, is to sort of remove the couch co-op. Right. And I'm not 100% sure that's for every game, but it's certainly that 2 or 3 developers we talked to at GDC were like, actually, that's one of the legitimate reasons why
technical
we don't do
capabilities.
It.
No, okay, fair enough. That totally makes sense. I was having a chat with my father actually recently about business and PR and all of that kind of stuff, and I totally have to credit him with this. I didn't think about it as far as the game industry until now. Is that there's kind of this weird battle between the business side of the business and the shareholder side of the business. They're always fighting back and forth. And so the shareholder side of the business doesn't care about the games at all. All they care about is the press releases, raising the stock price, and all of that. And a single player game, so God of War, this is the business side winning out and saying we can make a really great game that's going to make an awful lot of money. And the shareholder side doesn't really care because they're only going to get 2 or 3 or 4 press releases out of it, right? Even if it does really well, it sells that 3-point-whatever million copies. They get their awesome press release, stock price goes up, everybody's happy. But with a battle royale game, you constantly have this flow of good press and moving that stock value in the right direction. Makes me wonder whether some of what we're seeing is because of the PR cycle, because a single player game just simply doesn't have that. Once it's a one and done kind of thing.
Well, I know with shareholders, we're starting to see threads on forums too, which is weird. But you like in the past, it used to be NPD numbers, still is. Yeah. But now you start to see like at this press event or at this shareholder telephone call, we heard this and this, and you're like, really? Like, that's where some of this data is being leaked. That's where some of this data is going out. And there's a focus and attention on those, because that makes total sense. And I think anybody who's ever owned shares sort of knows that that's. One group is looking for that consistent, constant growth. They don't care about anything with that. I mean, as long as the name and their share name is the right thing, they don't really care what's going on. And then you have like you said, the business, which I think is creative people as well. They get together and they're like, well, we want to do this. And then, you do have those battles. And it depends also on your CEO and what they'll, which side they fall on that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Wells, you play a lot more of the indie single player. Which is, I mean, if you were to pick an area of the market that's the strongest, indie probably would be it. Yep. Are there any indies that are really trying to focus on the multiplayer experience as much and doing really well with it? I mean, we know, Isaac is a great example of single player that's just constantly fleshing itself out further and further.
Yeah, well, I think they're pretty much done with Isaac updates now. This last update that came out, I think last week or whatever it was, is supposed to be the last. Is supposed to be the last one. Yeah. We'll see. I'm trying to think of. of like
Zombioid?
indies. Yeah, that would be one. I know there've been a couple of them that have been really kind of designed like only for multiplayer. Like there was Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. There was a couple of those like VR, get with a team. What was it, Star Trek Bridge Crew or something like that? There's a bunch of those that kind of came out. Those were really indie titles. I mean, there's a handful. The thing about indie games is that there's just such a huge variety of different stuff. Like, there's plenty of multiplayer titles. There's plenty of single player titles. There's plenty of like you pick anything, and there's probably an indie title or 20 out there that fit the bill. And there's too many for me to keep track of all at once about every single indie title that's going to be coming out within the next 6 months or anything like that. Like I try, but oof. There's a lot of stuff.
Even the ones that are actually worth playing is hard to keep track of. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure.
Isn't Steam up over 5,000 games to be released this year, kind of thing? Like just ridiculous numbers.
Something like that. I mean, there's more indie title. There are more titles out there. And I play almost exclusively indie titles on YouTube. I think the first AAA game that you could make an argument about whether or not Minecraft is an indie title or not, but I think the only truly AAA title I've ever played on YouTube was Far Cry 5, which I'm playing on my second channel. Yeah. But everything else is for the most part indie stuff because of just competition on YouTube and smaller channels trying to compete with bigger channels for AAA titles and stuff like that. But I mean, at any given time, there's always 20 more games that I would want to play that I can't fit in my schedule because there's just not enough. You can only release so many videos a day. There's only so many hours available to you. So, there's just a huge variety out there. There's tons of multiplayer stuff, tons of single player stuff. It really just depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah. Do you think that Twitch is hurting single player games? So this was something that IGN had put up. It was just a little opinion piece. The general thought is if somebody can watch somebody else play through the single player game, they now no longer wish to buy that game because they've seen it. They've seen the content and they can move on with their lives. Whereas something like, Battle Royale games, Fortnite and all of that kind of stuff, it really doesn't matter. They were free anyways, and they're just looking for the widest possible audience. Every game is different. Therefore, if you want to experience it, you'd have to buy it yourself.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the game. I mean, I think if you're talking like a really story-driven game, like even something like bordering on like a graphic novel, or not a graphic novel, a visual, what do they call them, visual novels or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that that's really, it's not really about the gameplay, it's all about the story. Something like that, yeah, I could see, and not just Twitch, but Twitch, YouTube, any sort of media out there that covers it. If you want to look up spoilers and experience the game that way, sure, go for it. I think a lot of people who do that, though, are maybe in a position where they can't afford to buy the game. Or they wouldn't buy it anyway,
Mm-hmm.
But then there's other single player games out there that like I don't think it really makes a huge difference. It's something like a Total War, for example. Watching someone play Total War is not the same as playing Total War. So, You know what I mean? It's not really story driven. It's a 4X strategy game. Or like an Age of Empires, or like I think it really just kind of comes down to the game. I think there's certainly an argument to be made that certain games are hurt from a sales perspective because of platforms like Twitch and YouTube. But I think for probably the majority of games, it either doesn't matter or it helps sales overall.
Yeah, Karak?
I think that every time some new form of information delivery systems come out, everybody worries about this kind of shit, like forums. I remember when it was all forums are ruining games, and it depends on how old you are, but you remember pre-internet for some of us. So I think that each time a new form of something comes out, everybody reacts to it and sort of has to adjust. I think quick looks were a huge deal because a lot of people are like, well, there's an hour and this is what I get out, this is what I just heard from this person, I will or won't buy it. I'm sure those affect sales, but just like Will said, you don't necessarily know how they do. They could cause more people to buy it than would have purchased it prior. They could cause less people. So to me, there is no way you could ever blanket that entire conversation and say yes or no. And I am not a believer in like, let's say, quick looks as much as a lot of people, because I feel that a lot of games are front loaded, or a game is that first hour doesn't show you how your character grows. For example, God of War in the first hour is not God of War in your 20th hour. It's not even, and yes, that's people are going to be like, well, that's God of War. Most games are like that. And I think that to me is a little bit more what I worry about, is that developers will front load games for a Twitch. Well, we know it's happened actually, where there's been games where that first 2 or 3 hours is like jam packed, and then after that you're like, there's nothing to do, in this game at all. That worries me more than really any like large group of people doing one particular thing. It's more along the lines of how it's represented as a game, because a lot of people, they have that one chance. They release the game, you got your Twitch, your YouTube, your Mixer, and then 2 days later your results are in, and it's like either there's the occasional game that has a problem and then goes up, and the occasional game that does well and goes down, but overall you can usually look and go, they missed their mark or they hit it. And
that's fair.
Blanket statements don't seem to work for that.
Well, and I think there's plenty of examples of games out there that have achieved enormous levels of success strictly because of Twitch or YouTube. Like you can't tell me that Minecraft would be as successful as it is today if it weren't for YouTube and Twitch existing. Like, I mean, YouTube propelled Minecraft into the extraordinary level where it's at now. And then, there's plenty of examples too of people saying things like, I would never have heard of this game if you hadn't played it, because I follow your channel and I think you're wonderful and good looking and creative and funny and whatever, I'm going to try this game. And then they,
I've never heard any of those. I've never heard any of those comments myself.
I get good looking all the time, but that's about it.
Good for you.
But even a game like Dark Souls, where it's not front loaded, but the second half is worse, right? Because they ran out of time or whatever. Like, it's just not as polished.
And there's on the flip side of that too. There's plenty of games that start off really slow. Because you get the first 3 hours end up being basically a tutorial. And it's like, okay, well, when do we get to the actual meat and potatoes of the So if you're judging an entire game based on that, like first hour or two, you're like, well, okay, so we've learned how to like operate the menus and equip gear. Cool. when do we do fun stuff?
Yeah. No, that's fair. I've always kind of subscribed to the idea that if your game can be fully experienced by another person watching it, then why was it a game? It's kind of like even something like What Remains of Edith Finch. I think watching somebody else play that game would be a different experience because of how they built it, the pacing of how you personally discover parts of that story and how long it takes you to figure certain little details out. It's not really a puzzle, but it's just kind of that mental activity of, oh, that was this guy, and okay, this is what happened. And then actually experiencing the little vignettes, the thing at the towards the end with the cutting fish heads while controlling a little top-down RPG at the same time, and you start to realize your brain just doesn't handle these two activities well. Watching that, it was totally a story game, but you don't get the same experience.
I can think of a couple of games though that I've watched and thought, okay, well, I've watched it, so I really don't have any need to play it. I'm trying to think. There was a platformer a while back. Inside, that's what it was called. That was a game that like I watched, I think it was Northern Lion play it, and it was a fairly short game, and I'm like, okay, well, I watched it, now I don't really have any need to play it. But then kind of thinking about it in retrospect, that's probably not a game that I would have purchased anyway, so I don't know, maybe it's just anecdotal evidence, but I think for the most part, Twitch and YouTube do more for games and game sales than they hurt it.
I wonder if maybe you're closer to the truth there than you even realize, is that it may not be so much that you have watched it and it was a satisfying experience, therefore you do not have to buy it. It's that you watched it and found, you know what? It didn't look that good to begin with. So if I'd have bought it and played through it, I probably wouldn't have been happy either. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for that particular one, I mean, I really don't play platformers for the most part. And it's just not really the type of game that like I would look at the Steam page and go like, this is a game that's right up my alley. It was one that I would kind of look at and go like,
Yeah. Karak, are any games you can think of that you could have just watched and skipped out on totally?
Probably. I don't hate them, by the way, so I just want to make sure that's clear, because we can all hate them if we want, but Telltale games, I don't hate them because there's usually two choices, at least a binary. And growing up with Choose Your Own Adventure books, that was pretty much what you had, was like, go to page 30 or page 12 or page you're dead. You always knew page 350 was death. So it was like, when I'm seeing a Telltale game, I could probably assume that, but as Telltale has seen the effect of that, they've started to change things. For example, like Batman allows for you to go to locations as Batman or Bruce Wayne, and then you have different experiences, so you now have another split. So even I think they have sort of smartened up and said, we want some choice to be in there. But Inside is a good example of a game. I think when they're 2D platformers, there is something about 2D platformers, and I've never been able to understand this, that I would agree with Wells, that I could probably watch them and I would find myself more apt to say, okay, thanks for letting me see it. And maybe I wouldn't have got it, but that's all I needed. I think that's what usually happens is it's sort of a level of need. Do I need more data? Do I need more gameplay? Or is this fulfill both and I don't need to buy it myself? Because I saw people who saw my review of Ori and the Blind Forest, and they were like, all right, that's all I needed. I don't need to play it. I saw your review. It looked cool, but it wasn't for me. Yeah. Just all depends, man. I don't know of any game that's really a game. Edith Finch is very close. That's why I was agreeing with you, because that's a title which at first blush would certainly look like a title you would not need to play on your own. But technically, because of the way you experience things, you would have a different experience. But yeah, I think most games, if they're a game, it just depends on the person. Like their money situation. We always ignore money. But fuck, man, I don't have a lot of money, so it's like $60 to me is a big friggin' deal. So it's like, a gameplay video or a review. That's a big deal because, a lot of people don't have these segmented. I've heard people say, "Well, I don't watch reviews. I just buy the game." I'm all okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're Scrooge McDuck, but I'm not. Like, I don't have that much money. I have to decide what I'm getting. I think that also comes into it.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I think with the review purchase with or without watching a review too. I think it also kind of depends on the game, and if it's a game like I can pretty confidently buy any Zelda game and be pretty sure that I'm gonna love it. Like I probably don't need to watch a review for a Zelda game because I've played every Zelda game that was actually a Nintendo. Well, I don't remember. There was a couple of them that were a little wacky by was it Capcom or something like that. But anyway, like I can buy any flagship Zelda game and be perfectly content without watching a review first and knowing that I'm just going to like it because that it's Zelda, but then for other games where I might be a little more on the fence, yeah, I'm going to look at a review and see, like, is this something that I want to try? Is it not? And I think the examples of games that I've purchased because I've seen a video of them and thought that looks really cool,
right?
Greatly outweigh the number of games that I've like looked at a review at and been like, yeah. Some of the games that I've played, put more hours in, like Isaac. Isaac's a perfect example. I've put at this point 880 hours or something like that into Isaac.
That's I would never. Isaac.
Yeah, I know. I would never have played Isaac if it weren't for you. Like without a doubt, that's a game that I would have looked at the Steam page and been like, "This looks really stupid. I have no desire to play this." Yeah, it looks gross. It looks weird. Like this doesn't look like my kind of thing. And then because it became so popular on YouTube and it became kind of the staple of one of my personal favorite YouTubers, I finally decided, you know what, it's a $15 game. I'll give it a try. Yeah. And then I played it. I'm like, oh my god, this is the greatest game ever made. How did I wait 3 years or whatever it's been to start playing this game? And now it's one of my all-time favorites because it's just really good,
Yeah. The money thing has got to be huge as far as why Battle Royale is doing so well, because you don't have to pay anything for it, right? I mean, if somebody is looking at the value proposition, I can spend $40 on a game and it's going to last me however many hours I'm going to play through at one time, right? This is your story games. How many times are you going to play through God of War? Is that a game that has a lot of replay value? Like for me, I had no desire to go back and play Horizon again. It was fantastic the first time through, but what am I going back for? DLC? Sure. New content? Great. That's awesome. Whereas something like Isaac or Meat Boy or, you know, a lot of those kinds of things where you're trying to improve yourself rather than the game itself. There's so much more value there for a long-term sort of purchase, right?
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to variance. I mean, I think a game like Horizon or like God of War, that's the type of game you'll play through, you'll beat it, you'll maybe go back and do a couple of like the side quests and things like that you missed, and then you'll set it down and you'll maybe come back to it in a couple years or something and be like, you know what? I've got an itch to play God of War again, or I've got an itch to play through Horizon again.
Yeah.
But then you have other games that have just an absurd level of variance, whether that's because it's online multiplayer and every match is different, or whether it's a game like Isaac because there's so many unlockables and items and you know, like there's just whatever it is that causes your experience to be substantially different than the first time. Those are the games that you can beat and then instantly start again 30 seconds later and be like, all right, I'm going to do it again. You know, same with like sandbox games. You play a game, you do something, and then you just keep going because it's different every single time you play it. Those are the ones with just infinite replayability. Those are the ones that I think are the best bang for your buck, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Are there any single player genres or games that you'd like to see more of?
Plenty. I'd love to see more sandbox. I mean, let's just be honest. I want to see more games, just period. Give me more 4X games. Give me more RPGs. Give me more sandbox games. Give me more, you name it. Throw it at me. Everything except for sports games.
Okay, fair enough.
He's like the person who says he likes all music but country.
You know, a funny story. I actually am one of those people who likes all music but country.
But country, yeah. Just the way you were describing it, I was like, I have this feeling.
Yep.
For me, I would say that I think I'm happy with what we're getting. We get like indies, we get B-level, and we get AAAs. I would like to see more B-level games, but I do understand that. So you'll get an indie who then gets bought by AAA, like a Microsoft buys Ori, right, or Cuphead, and then you have to go, is it still indie or is it, you know? And then you have AAA developers who get bored with that industry and become indies, like Double Fine or something like that, and then they have their own explosion and they become a weird conglomerate, and you never quite know what to call them. So B is the most interesting to me. You're like Elix, and I know people are probably just going to be like, he likes fucking Elix, but I did have some bugs with it, so I had some issues when it first came out, but it's such a weird, different game. It's a B-level game. It's a Piranha Bytes game, which you know is going to be buggy. And I like the B-level stuff. I love, like, Devolver Digital or Deep Silver, maybe sometimes not so much a Deep Silver, but I like their B-level stuff. People probably won't like this, but IGN just did an article stating Technomancer leads the charge to the new B-level games. I'm not necessarily thinking Technomancer was the best example for that, but
I was not
B-level. I was, but I understand why people weren't, and I liked it just because it was different. You know, sometimes I'll gravitate towards that, but I love B stuff. Any of those Hellblades, which I think Hellblade, you could argue was like almost AAA, but not AAA, pseudo AAA. I love that shit. I love it because they're the ones I was talking to on Jim Sterling's YouTube. They're the ones that are. So an indie may not have the money to do what they want, where a AAA may not have the guts to do what they want. But a B-level game maker, they're like in the middle. And so sometimes you get the things that nobody else will risk or nobody else has the money for. And that's when, to me, there's some magic there. There's some magical B-level games. But that's
for sure.
I tend to agree. I'd like to see more B games. I'd like to see the AAA group stop putting all of their eggs into so few baskets.
Yeah.
You know, you take some of these $50 million projects and turn them into $5-10 million games, right? Just try it out. Just test it. See how that does. Do some weird experimenting. Do some innovation. They have the money to do it, and I think it'd be pretty cool. You know, I really like The Surge. That was another one that was, you know, very Dark Soulsy in the way it was designed, but, you know, future tech and these kind of mech suits and it was
high,
great.
and they had the vertical and horizontal attack instead of light and heavy, which seems like a small change, but when I was talking to their developer in the interview, like he started describing why they chose that, and I'm like, fuck, that's awesome. Again, I had some bugs, but overall, there was some really cool stuff.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because the enemies are blocking either high or low.
Yeah,
and you have to pick the strike to match.
Yeah, it was very cool. Very cool.
You know, that does seem to be where all the really good innovation is coming from. All right. I think we've kind of exhausted that topic. But before we get into other things, let's take a brief break. Hear a little bit of music. We'll come back in and we'll do some other topics, some news and shenanigans that's going on in the industry, and then we'll talk about upcoming games that are exciting. So we'll be back shortly. Please don't go anywhere, and enjoy a little bit of tunes. All right, we're back and ready for some more news. Actually, let's talk about the Twitch thing, the bounties program. I didn't know very much about this, but Wells pointed out that there's a fancy new thing going on Twitch, which is basically a way of doing sponsored content, but kind of like a classifieds board almost. Like the developer X can say, okay, we want to have somebody play our game, and we're going to pay them $100 as long as they get this many viewers, or as long as they meet whatever certain requirements. Do you want to give a bit more of a synopsis of it? Because as I say, I'm not as familiar with what's going on.
Yeah, so basically, and I'm not like super familiar with it myself, because it was just very recently announced, and I haven't had a chance to really check it out yet. But from what it looks like on face value, is that basically they'll have like a classifieds board, kind of like you were saying, where they'll have all these lists of different games, and they'll say, hey, if you stream this game for an hour and you hit your normal viewership numbers and stuff like that, you'll get paid X amount. And I imagine the amount will vary based on the game and all that other kind of stuff. But it looks like a way to kind of streamline sponsored content as a streamer on Twitch. So it looks really interesting, because I mean, sponsored content is one of those things that, like, as a creator, you have to be careful with, because your rapport and your trust level between you and your audience is like super important. You don't want to be seen as like a sellout. But at the same time, like, it can be a very good source of income. Like, so it's one of those things you kind of have to balance different stuff. But one of the harder things with sponsored content is just finding the right sponsored content, right? Like finding a game that you think your audience will legitimately be interested in, that you as a creator you are legitimately interested in, that also wants to pay you to stream their game, and having like an actual list of all these different games where you can be like, hey, I want to stream this. I wonder if this game is on the list, and maybe I can just earn a little bit of extra money from streaming this game that I'd be streaming anyway. It looks like a really positive thing overall.
Okay. Karak, you had some thoughts on this one too. Some good and some bad.
Yeah, well, and I just read something that I want to know what you guys think of this. So if you do not meet whatever the viewer requirement is, you only get a partial payment. And I was thinking about that, going, that is very smart of the company, because basically, depending on what their number and viewership number is, and who they accept, because they're the ones who get to choose who they accept, you could get a lot of people streaming your game and yet not pay any of them the full amount. Like, I was just looking at it going, man, I get why they're doing it, for sure. But I found that odd when I was reading it, going, I'm black-hearted in my worry about business all the time. So it's like I always think the worst stuff, just because I've been so set up so many times. So it's like that would be bad. But overall, I think it's good. It's FameBit basically for Twitch streamers. FameBit allows for people to do that kind of stuff, but for all platforms. I think it's good. It depends on, we were talking about this prior to the podcast, like, it depends also on how much information is given. For example, if a channel requests to be a part of one of these programs, can you see that? Can other people see that? That would be quite interesting to see how people reacted to that and who accepted what. How you tell people it's sponsored, as Will said, it's huge for respect for people. Well, it's not for everybody. Some people, we know that they get paid, and we're okay with that. Like a Linux tips or whatever. Like, he's very open. Linus, it's like Linux. Sorry, he it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like Trojan condoms, and I'm here to say they're the best condoms. And you're like, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. He'll take that sponsorship. So it's okay for some. I think what it can help, depending, is once again the smaller games that they look at a PR company, and Tarmack knows this. Some of the companies handle different tier games. Some of these PR companies that talk to influencers, and you send a code out, but you don't know if they're going to cover it. Yeah. And you don't, and we've had that before, where, like, somebody will ask for a code, they won't cover the game, and the PR company will be like, why didn't you cover this? Because we sent you the code. I think this is the best for that, where smaller companies who don't have a ton of money can say, we're going to pay this little amount plus give you a free game if you cover it, and then be able to see that you actually did. Also, I think this does reflect some of the complaints that we saw from Michael. I can't pronounce his last name. I apologize. And I've had him on the podcast before, but the guy from Everspace. I don't know if you saw his complaint.
I did see that. Yes, they spent a whole bunch of money and they got maybe the wrong. I was going to bring it up.
Maybe the wrong Twitch user, or yeah. Go for it.
Now, well, so don't you think that may be increased by doing this kind of thing? Because this does seem, the way that they've worded it, this seems to be very indiscriminate on who is there. And
it is, but the company gets to choose. So they'll have, instead of what Michael's problem was, is he was asking a PR company, who then the PR company reached out to different, and that I can totally agree with Michael. Like that is scary, because you don't know if the PR company is paying attention to what people will cover.
Yeah.
So if Michael, for example, or anybody said, here's $500, we want 10 people to cover it, $50 a piece, whatever, and then they can look at who applies and look at their Twitch channel and say, have they covered a game like Everspace before? Because that was a disaster for them. They felt that they spent an extraordinary amount of money and on the PR company, and that failed them. That's just me. I don't know.
Well, that makes a great deal of sense, right? I mean, what exactly would happen if you gave a game, a walking simulator to Ninja on Twitch? He has the wrong audience. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them, right? By the same token, giving Fortnite to somebody like Lethal Frag, who's a very chill, laid back kind of guy, well, it's just the wrong audience. And I'll bet you all of those metrics are there on the company side. When they go and they create this thing, and you apply as a Twitch streamer saying, yeah, I'd love to do that, it will give them the demographics. It'll give them all of the information about the games that you regularly stream, how long your streams are, all of that kind of stuff. I don't think that any of it's going to be public, though. I really don't. I don't think that they're going to show, this channel applied for this or anything like that. Probably. It's all going to be in the back behind a dashboard, which kind of sucks a little bit. I also wonder whether they're going to kind of tier it a little bit.
If you'll excuse me 1 second, continue.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if they're going to basically make it so that people can only see certain things, right? Like if you're a Twitch streamer, you may not actually be able to see all of the different bids that are out there. I don't know. That
wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me at all if they say, to be able to see these bounties, you must have X number of concurrent viewers and all this other kind. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised at all if some of that stuff is hidden. Because one thing I will say, looking at what's on the bounty board at the moment, most of it's like $100 for a 1 hour stream or stuff like that. The vast majority, in fact, I think all of the ones that are currently on there are actually pretty far under what you would expect like a fair payout to be for sponsored content. Like, I mean, obviously the numbers that you would, the amounts of money that you would be paid doing sponsored content is, dependent on your viewership numbers and like what the company's budget is and all these other factors. But what's on there right now is like way under what you would expect someone to be paid for actual sponsored content.
Right.
So, I mean, it all just depends. But yeah, I have a feeling there's probably going to be some sort of a tier system, because I can't imagine that someone like a Ninja or a Co-Carnage or something like that would be paid the same for doing sponsored content as someone like me, who gets, 100 to maybe somewhere between 100 and 300 viewers, depending on the game I'm streaming. It's like, I have to imagine the offers would be different depending on the metrics of the channels involved.
As a real numbers guy, I would be very interested in seeing the overall data of it. They could anonymize it. I wouldn't care. Give me the rough, okay, here's how big the channels are. Here's how many viewers they get. Here's how much money. And you crunch all of that to figure out, because you're exactly right. If you're looking at the amounts that they're paying right now, it's very low, but it also just is something that is new, right? They haven't really settled on what are people actually going to accept. And as time goes on, those numbers will approach much closer to what is, realistic. Because they're gonna put these classified ads in and nobody's gonna take it. Well, okay, your only option then is to increase the price, because obviously people didn't want to be paid that little, right? So there will be an equilibrium point that will be reached at some point. It would just be really fascinating to see how that changes over time.
Yeah. Well, and to some extent, I think the convenience of it is just, almost to some degree warrants the lower payouts as well. You know, if it's as simple as looking at a list and picking a couple games off the list, and that's basically all you got to do, like that's way easier than getting in touch with a rep who then, you know, you trade emails back and forth and you work out a price and like all, I mean, you know, working out an agreement for sponsored content can be something that takes, you know, a couple of weeks or whatever it may be. So just the convenience of it can be really nice. And it might just be one of those things where you'll see streamers saying like, okay, well, I'm going to stream this game. Let's just look and see if it's on the list. Oh, look, it is on the list. I guess this will be a sponsored stream then, because, you know, why not get paid a little bit extra? So I think we'll just kind of have to see how it all shakes out in the long run.
Yeah. I worry about sponsored stuff. I don't know. It's so hard to trust it, you know?
It's all about how you do it though. Like it's all about and I mean, it also depends on the type of content you're doing. Like if you're a reviewer and that's your primary thing, and you're doing sponsored reviews, like that's a whole different animal from being someone like me who's a Let's Player and doing sponsored Let's Plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're not there to see the game; they're there to see you, right? It's
right, or maybe they are there to see the game, but they're not necessarily there for my review of the game to say like, this is a good game, you should get it. By the way, they're paying me, you know, X amount. But like I've done sponsored content in the past. There was a game called Creativerse, and I was, you know, I'm Minecraft is kind of my like main thing, and Creativerse is in that same vein. And Creativerse approached me and said, hey, you want to do we'd like to offer a sponsored series on our game. And if you do X number of episodes and the episodes gets X number of views, you know, we'll give you X amount. And what they didn't know is that Creativerse had kind of been on my list of games to play for like a year anyway. And I just hadn't gotten around to it because, you know, recording schedules and stuff like that. And I'm like, so you want to pay me to do something that I'd been planning to do anyway? Sure. Sign me up. You know, and my audience loved that series. It actually became one of the more popular series on my channel. And, you know, it was a great success. And, you know, there weren't any restrictions like you're not allowed to say this, that, and the other thing or anything like that. It was just, you know, I think in those situations, like it's totally fine to do sponsored content. On the other hand, if you're doing a review and they're like, by the way, we'll pay you for a good review, like obviously that's a huge ethical and moral issue, you know, like, I mean, it's really just like common sense. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with sponsored content. The problem comes from doing sponsored content in an unethical or immoral way.
Well, that makes sense. Did they say at all how Twitch is getting paid? Or they're taking a cut, I'm sure.
It was not mentioned in the
It wasn't, yeah. It wasn't
but I imagine Twitch is going to be taking some sort of a cut as the middleman.
I'll bet you there's a cut, and I'll bet you there's an extra fee that can make sure that yours is at the top of the list. But that's just me. I'm just a cynical douche.
There may be.
I'm sure there is. It's just the way that business goes. Okay. NVIDIA, they were being cynical douches too. Their wonderful partner program, which actually it didn't. So it did MSI and Republic of Gamers, and I thought it was more than just those two that actually had to split off the video card lines for AMD because of this weird, shifty GeForce partner program. And Dell and HP got really angry at NVIDIA and said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to play your game. So basically, the NVIDIA partner program was a way of trying to lock manufacturers' brands into exclusivity with the NVIDIA chips. And there were some ways of penalizing them through, not being able to buy inventory on time, a lot of that kind of shady stuff. And this all came out through various leaks. And very recently, I believe it was actually yesterday, NVIDIA said that they are closing the GeForce Partner Program, and it has nothing to do with any of the rumors or leaks or messages that or misinformation, I think maybe was the term that they used, that was out there about this program. I don't know that there's really a huge amount to discuss on this. It's just companies being shitty, getting called out for being shitty, and then stopping being as shitty, really. But it seemed a reasonable news item.
Do you think there's any connection whatsoever to the crypto mining inflating the GPU prices, and NVIDIA seeing that and figuring that somehow by doing this, it also helps them? there any connection at all that you can see?
Maybe in timing.
Maybe it just seems odd.
Maybe in timing, where they figured if they were going to do it, what better time than when the blame on high prices and difficult to find processors or GPUs is residing outside of NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Everybody was blaming the miners. Well, all these cards are too expensive. So I don't know. I'm not sure that there would be maybe maybe there's no real financial boon for them doing this at this time. But it just seemed odd timing to me that they were so big into it that they were demanding companies change their entire branding for entire lines of video cards, and then they're like, oh fuck, by the way, Friday news, just for a second, we just want to tell you that we're completely kiboshing that entire program. It just seemed really odd in its time. That is fair, and because the crypto market has been increasing again lately. So I mean, it could have been related to stock issues. It could have been, saying, okay, well, we can't sustain the purchasing levels and supply issues and stuff like that for now. So because the cost is going up, so what we're going to do is artificially find a way of limiting our suppliers or our buyers to the most loyal buyers that we can find, and we'll give them all of the benefits. I mean, I guess that could be for sure. It does seem a little bit coincidental. I'll certainly grant you that one for sure. I don't know.
I just want to know what the new GPU, the new flagship NVIDIA GPU is going to be priced at, because like I'm running a 980 in my PC right now.
Yeah.
And it's starting to kind of show its age a little bit. The way it's going, it's looking like I'm going to have to pay as much for a GPU as I did for that entire PC. Like
for a car.
Yeah.
Dude, a used car. Man. It's $3,000 for the Titan 5 right now.
Yeah, it's absurd. Like, and I just bought a used car,
You're buying another one, buddy.
It's like, God, man, like the cost just needs to drop at least to some level, because I just can't justify shelling out, a couple of grand for a card. Like it's, oh man, it's killing me.
Insane.
I agree. Okay. Yeah, not a whole lot to discuss on that really. It's just, again, something to be aware of. NVIDIA kind of got caught a little bit on being jerks.
It exists.
This FTC thing. So apparently in the United States, putting a warranty is void if remove sticker on your board is illegal. Not necessarily just the sticker itself, but the concept of somebody basically not doing something to their machine. Just, removing a sticker is a very simple act. It doesn't change the physicality of the machine. But what they were doing is they were putting these all over the inside of the consoles. And as soon as somebody does anything to it, now you don't get your warranty anymore. And the FTC said, yeah, no, you can't do that. So 30 days, fix it. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty stoked about this, and I hope that the FTC is going to go a little bit further, because this is that whole right to repair argument. This is the John Deere tractors and their DRM nonsense that has been going on for years, right? You take a look at some of the teardowns of the Nintendo Switch. The battery is basically glued in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Not quite, but it's like it's a sticky thing that holds it in. And you have to peel this off to get the battery out, which, while you're bending your lithium battery and possibly puncturing it, right? This can end your good day in a very real hurry.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see more of this. I love the aftermarket stuff. I love the cracked consoles and homebrew things and all that. Yeah, there's a gray market piece to it too, but I don't know. I think if you bought something, you should be able to do with it what you want.
Well, I have a question though, because I don't know about this, by the way. I don't know, or at least very much about what you're talking about right now. But my question is, are they saying that it's just illegal, or are they saying that a company has to foot the warranty for somebody fucking around inside their system? Because I'm not 100% sure. I believe it's the company's fault if somebody smashes the wrong RAM into their fucking socket, which we've seen happen before. Like,
I think what they're saying is that the removal of the sticker,
like a mattress bed tag, like a mattress tag, where they try to tell you that's illegal.
They're saying that like removing, it's not legal to say that this voids the warranty by just removing. a sticker. I think that's kind of
what they were. Yeah, what they were doing is they were saying that the removal of the sticker constitutes proof that you tampered with the system, and therefore you no longer have warranty protection. When that's not necessarily the case.
Gotcha.
What if for example you and I don't know if you tear down a PlayStation, if you can replace the RAM, I doubt it. It'll be soldered onto the board. I would suspect. But if there was something that you could replace yourself, the fact that you replaced that thing doesn't mean that the warranty on the rest of the system is not valid. So the FTC is kind of going down this road of, no, if you want to deny them their warranty, you need to prove that what they did broke it. It's sort of a changing who the onus of proof is on. I don't know. I'm just fascinated by the whole thing because we've seen such a resistance on it in every other place that it's ever been discussed on being able to repair your own gear, or in the case of because what they're really fighting here is not the end user going in and soldering something on the board. It's when you take it to a repair shop and they fix something for you, right? That you can no longer expect any kind of official support. You're screwed now. So, I don't know. Another thing I wanted to bring up, but boy, I'm kind of striking out on the discussion topics, aren't I?
So I'm not, because I'm still questioning this. Again, I don't know what we're talking about exactly, but first of all, is it consoles?
Yes.
Okay. So
yes, this is Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo that have been issued a warning letter from the FTC on this.
And are putting, I'm assuming it sounds like they're just slathering fucking stickers inside their consoles. I don't know because I haven't taken an Xbox One apart or anything. But what my question is, if you do take it to your repairman, right, and they repair it, wouldn't you take it back to the repairman to repair whatever went wrong the next time? And if you did have somebody in there who isn't a certified Microsoft technician, are we saying that they should still uphold the warranty?
My understanding is that it's a move against the third-party repair shops, where you have to be this special licensed sort of thing in order to offer a warranty service.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because I see what you mean by an anti-consumer, obviously, but at the same time, I don't necessarily know if I'm not a big believer in the protectorate, like where the world protects me from me. Sometimes I'm a dumbass. I fuck my stuff up. Nobody else should pay for that but me. So it's like, that's what I was trying to figure out, is where that line is being drawn.
I'll throw an example out. So you've got your Xbox One, right? And your kid steps on it or something like that and breaks the CD tray. Well, that's obviously not a warranty issue, right? So you take it into a third-party repair shop. He swaps in a new CD drive, and you're back to everything being great. And then the CPU burns out, totally unrelated on its own, right? Because you have had this repaired at a third-party shop, Microsoft will say, sorry, you're boned. We can't help you. And the FTC is saying that is not enough for them to say your warranty is void. You can't simply remove somebody's warranty because something was done to the system. You have to prove that what they did to the system is what caused the problem in the first place, right? That third party interaction is what actually caused the issue. There's
keep
a lot
in
more
mind
it's
hinged on the stickers as well, right? They're basically saying that, like, you can't say that the removal of this sticker means that the warranty itself is void.
Yeah, it makes total sense. That's
like removing the sticker on the CD drive is not going to void the warranty on the CPU. Right. No. Like that's basically what they're saying.
And generally, in electronics, that warranty void if removed sticker is usually placed on something that is potentially customer replaceable, right? They're not going to stick it on the board itself that you can never. There's nothing. They put it over top of a screw. That the only way to get that piece out is by unscrewing and removing the sticker.
You know what, Gnome? Let's fucking let's get ourselves a small manufacturing shop and make some counterfeit stickers.
There you go.
That's a business decision right there. That's the way to do it.
Stick it to the man. Beat the system.
All of a sudden, just selling the stickers back. Be like, fucking take it apart. We don't care. We got like 8,000 stickers we'll sell you, man. I could open up a little shop on Zazzle and sell those to people. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I get that. I understand.
I wonder if we could pay Twitch streamers to advertise the stickers.
Well,
Zazzle.
I mean, there was just that big controversy about some YouTubers getting caught doing advertisements for like a company that would write your school essays for you and stuff like that.
I saw that a couple days ago.
What?
I didn't really understand what was going on.
Did you not see that, Tarmac?
No.
Couple people got caught basically doing sponsored stuff where they were promoting this website that was essentially a website for cheaters. So you would contact them and they would write like your term paper for you. I'm like, wow, that's like we were talking earlier about how like when it comes to sponsored content, like it's all about the trust that you build with you and your audience, and like that's how you destroy it right there. Is you do stupid stuff like that.
On the flip side of that, though, Wells, is also why some people don't want to, or like Tarmac was saying, he's worried about sponsored content all the time because that puts a lot of stress on a YouTuber to track it down. Like, how would the YouTuber, if you just get somebody selling stuff, Podbean, I upload to Podbean, and Podbean has this new thing that it's like you can add ads to your audio to your podcast, but when I start looking at some of them, I'm not lying. Like there's one that's like Miss Cleo will tell you your future, and I'm like, what? I'm not putting that. So some of it's like how much a YouTuber wants to investigate, because I'm not 100% sure. I don't know, how much do you expect a YouTuber to know about a company? Like
this one
was very questionable.
This one was like pretty cut and dry.
They're like wecheat.com.
Yeah, it was something like that. Like I
Awesome.
forget. It was like blatant. Like that was the whole purpose of the website, was like, we'll write your essays for you and stuff.
We'll write your essays.edu.
Yeah, well, it's like you go to their like front page and it's like, we guarantee at least a B+ on all the papers, and we'll do citations and blah blah. Wow, this is just like, we'll make sure it passes through all the cheating software that they use, all the turnitin.com and all that. We'll make sure it passes that.
Your tuition back guarantee.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
I don't know. There's been a bunch of sponsorship stuff that they didn't really long term get hurt by. That whole CS:GO Lotto thing, and the FIFA channels and stuff advertising these gambling things, which is a totally not whatsoever a convenient segue into the Belgian Gambling Commission saying that loot boxes are gambling.
Well, didn't the CS:GO Lotto
That's all I got to say about that.
Didn't the CS:GO Lotto stuff aren't they still hung up in court? And one of them got fined. Like one of them,
they've been punished, but they still have their YouTube channels, and they still have a huge audience that doesn't give a shit.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That is gladly able to continue watching them and giving them more than enough money to pay their fines. Right? These are
if doing stupid stuff was enough to completely ruin your YouTube channel, then like I can think of a number of the super large YouTubers who would be gone ages ago. Like,
yeah. Oh no, I'm totally with you. It would be, if you want to make that go away, then YouTube has to be partially liable for content.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, the more stupid stuff you do, the more popular you get.
Yeah.
Like Tarmac, you and I should have a boxing match. What do you say?
Boxing match?
Yeah, we'll do a boxing match, you and me, and we'll do diss tracks.
Well, eating
I'll put
Tide
out
Pods.
there you go.
I'm really stoked about that whole loot box thing. It almost looks like we're at the end of loot boxes in the big AAA games. Like they really stepped back and said, "Oh, people are angry. We may have gone too far." I wish that EA wasn't the only one really getting the heat. I don't know.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope we're coming to the end of loot boxes. Like we've had this discussion a million times, so I'm not going to go down the road too much, but
yeah,
I think of all the microtransaction models that exist, like loot boxes are probably the worst of the worst.
I tend to agree. Did we have anything else that we wanted to discuss? Anything? We brought up before we started the show the Obsidian topic. Chris Avalon has had quite a strong post that he put up with some really heavy accusations, and we didn't really want to get too in depth into that one. I don't think, just because it's good to be aware. And part of the reason I bring it up is at the moment the industry's really only heard one side of this, and you need to be really careful before you start throwing some of this stuff around. but it is going to be something very fascinating to follow and find out what has actually happened with Avalon's exit from Obsidian and how that actually happened. But outside of that one, I don't know that we have any other topics. Maybe we can talk about some exciting games that are coming up, though.
There's a ton of exciting.
There are a ton of exciting games. What can you talk about that you have played that is not out yet? Is there anything along those lines?
I mean, I can't give like a final for Pillars, but I'm enjoying that. Pillars 2. But for me, it's not what I've played that isn't out yet, because most of them are under NDA. But I'm actually incredibly excited for like E3, which is rare for me. Not Bethesda. They can shove off. Done with them. Like if they announce something great, that's fine. But I'm like, I got burned by them too many times in a row. But I am excited for Ashen, which is a B/indie title that Microsoft showed about 2 or 3 years ago. I got to do some interviews with those folks. It's like a Zelda in a volcanic world kind of thing. It just looks crazy. I am so stoked for that game. Ashen, yeah. They showed it on set, but unfortunately, it was shown prior to Cuphead. So it was like they showed theirs and then Cuphead, and people were like, "Whoa, no. Cuphead looks awesome!" And it was like, wah, wah. So I can't wait to see that. I'm super excited for Ashen. I just think it looks everything I've talked to them about, and we've had them on a couple times, and then they just did an interview recently with, I think it wasn't Polygon, but it was one of the bigger websites, and some of their gameplay stuff, I cannot wait. The one thing that it makes me a little nervous is how they're handling the co-op, which is they will not allow voice chat, or at least within the game they won't. You can probably do it within Discord or something like that, obviously. But they're doing that so that you have to sort of look at the person and understand what they're trying to suggest to you. Not 100% sure that'll work.
Yeah, but that seems a little odd.
Yeah, that seemed odd to me as well. But overall, that's probably the one that I cannot wait to see E3 and see what they show. And then there was a leak that Forza Horizon 4 is going to be shown. And if so, I'm going to be like a giddy little schoolgirl, because that is
those your weekends.
Man, the Horizon racing games have really elevated themselves, and 3 was phenomenal. So those are probably the two main things I'm looking forward to when it comes to like E3. Then there's stuff in the middle always.
Yeah. Wells?
Jurassic World Evolution.
Yeah, true.
Planet Coaster, but dinosaurs. It's gonna be the greatest thing of all time. I'm so looking forward to that one.
I hope so. I hope so. I
hope so too.
I worry a little bit about. I don't know. I worry that it's going to be light. That the really heavy detail and getting into the nitty gritty of everything won't quite be there.
Maybe I have some friends who have played it, who flew out to Universal and actually got their hands on it and stuff like that, and they said it's really good. Like they're really looking forward to it. And these are the people who played Planet Coaster for hundreds of hours, and the super over detailed buildery type people who like to do crazy levels of detail and everything. So they.
Sorry, I was going to ask you, Wells. Did they say? I'm sure they probably didn't. But here's the one major thing I'm worried about with that game is what happens with all those type of games is performance. The performance is always shit in those games. Like it just doesn't matter. I'm assuming they probably couldn't say anything. Like, did they even say it was smooth, or did you hear anything?
I don't know.
You don't have to say it.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I haven't heard that much about it. I mean, my understanding of it is to Universal, and they played on like PCs that were provided there at like an event type thing. And I mean, the other thing too is the game hasn't even hit like a proper release version yet. So I mean, I don't think we could judge performance, but if I remember correctly, Planet Coaster had some performance issues once you got enough stuff in it going on in your little theme park, and then even after like release and stuff like that. So,
City Skylines, all those.
Yeah, City Skylines as well.
Some issues.
But at the same time, like if you can go in and you can start a park and you can get 20 hours out of your park before your performance completely tanks.
For sure.
Like still 20 hours per park, that's not bad.
Yeah. Is that performance issues or just not having the amount of power necessary? Because I had that issue in Frostpunk. I don't know if you had that going through in Frostpunk, but it starts to really chug on frame rate by the time you got that crater full of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you've got smoke everywhere and all. I mean, so Jurassic World is going to have a ridiculous amount of foliage, and it's not going to be thousands of dinosaurs slowing your machine down. It's going to be all the little visitor avatars and all of that kind of stuff.
And bushes and fucking like trees and shit always
Lighting.
eat up FPS so fast. Yeah, and
Lighting effects.
It looks amazing. So that's sort of why I'm like, man, it would be great to get it and be like, it performs really well. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Well, and then the thing too is that I think your average YouTuber or streamer probably has a better PC than your average consumer for the most part. So, if someone like me is struggling to run the game, odds are most other people who would be in my audience are going to struggle to run the game even more than me.
No, that's fair.
So Karak, that's kind of my benchmark is like, if I'm having problems, you're probably going to have problems that are worse than mine,
Karak, when you do reviews, you've got multiple PCs you're testing these on, like for different specs and stuff like that, right?
That's for the reason, because like people, I mean, when I was watching reviews prior to doing reviews, when I was still, gainfully employed, as people will say when they bitch about me, when I was working, I would see somebody do a review and they'd be like, I got my twin 1080s with my fucking overclock to 6,000 gigahertz, and I'll be like, come on, like the normal people just don't have the money for that. And so what I did was I just made sure to keep my old PCs and sort of have them at specs that are like 970, for example, something like that, where it's like, that's the low spec. Because I also do not believe that a developer should not be able to make a game that is future-proofed. I think Ultra, though, should be changed. They should change the name. Like, it shouldn't be called Ultra anymore, because all that means to me is I should be able to run it now, but really, really good. They need to change that to like, in the future you can run this with better shit or something. So it's like people get that it's like more like low, medium, and high, because that does matter too. You'll get your frame rate eating stuff. Yeah,
that was like Crysis, right? The original Crysis, when it came out, there was no hardware that could run the max settings at a good frame rate. It just chugged on everybody, and it took years until someone was able to build a machine that could get a good frame rate on those max settings. And that's awesome, right? Yeah, give future-proofed kind of level of quality.
Sort of just rename it or something so that we know. But I would love that, because I think that sometimes people get hung up on it too. People are like, well, I turned it on Ultra and I can't get 60, 4K. And I'm all, really? Because that's asking a lot. A lot of times a developer will put in special effects, and then what settings do you have? Do you accidentally have like your anti-aliasing overriding in NVIDIA or something?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't realize just how much different 4K is for processing power needed to compute to bring it together. Like that's a huge amount more than a 1080p screen. It's just too much. So that makes sense. I'm curious to see what comes out of E3. E3 is going to be interesting, at least. I don't know that I really care about Red Dead. I think they're going to ruin it with Red Dead Online, and they're. I know you don't want to think of that. I know they're going to have.
We're going to be buying picket fences, though. That is what will happen.
Saddlebag packs or something. I don't know.
Donkey dollars instead of like shark cards. It'll be donkey dollars.
That'd be.
And we're going to be buying picket fences, and it'll be like, you want a white one, $5. Want a brown one, $5.
Refill your ammo for the low price of 99 cents.
But
please, God, I never thought about that, man. I don't even want to think about that.
But at the very least, it'll have some kind of single player experience that's fun. GTA 5 was good. It was a fun experience. It was only 4 hours long, with 4 hours of travel time, but it was a fun experience. There's some rumor about Cyberpunk. I don't know if they've actually confirmed they're talking about it, but that'll be cool. I just love CD Projekt stuff, even though they don't have the best reputation from their employees.
They don't. They're a little bit like the Obsidian stuff, where it's like you hear things, you're just all, is that true? And then Glassdoor shows up and somebody writes a review on the company or whatever. But I don't know about you guys, but Cyberpunk, I did see I'm sure you saw this too, but they went back and found the old documents where they said this will be first and third person, so it's not just going to be third. Which that's interesting from a gameplay standpoint. If you understand development, that's going to adjust your camera. It's going to make sure there's going to be adjustments in both cameras to make sure that each one works, which is going to be interesting to see how they handle that versus a Witcher 3, which was third person. Right. And I'm really excited for that. I'm also excited to see how their technology handles a cityscape with multiple NPCs that look crazy ass, because if you understand what cyberpunk is, these are not like medieval dudes all wearing the same tunic. They're going to be...
No, it's a lot more Deus Ex, right?
Yeah, it's a lot more Deus Ex or Anachronics, which I'm really excited for. Like, that to me is, I cannot wait to see what the tech can do in cityscapes like a GTA 5, but in the future, or Saints Row 4, which they did sometimes with the superhero stuff.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The only thing about Cyberpunk that I'm tired of is the futuristic cars. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Toyota Corollas will still be around. Datsun diesel trucks will still be around. Those things, those,
1970 Dodge Darts will still be around.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not. Yeah, I'm stoked for it. I can't wait. Performance is another one, though, right? Because, I mean, Witcher 3, I don't know if you guys remember, but when that released, it didn't have the greatest performance.
So but they also admitted that they downgraded it.
Yeah, true.
Right?
True.
But it was because of consoles, and the only way to make it so they could have it on all of those different platforms and bring that whole audience in to actually fund this game was to do it. So
yeah,
that's fine. And it's still one of the most gorgeous games out there.
Right?
They fixed some things since, but
I'm actually going to play some Witcher 3 as soon as we're done.
Excellent. Did you get the HDR patch?
I don't know yet. I have it on PC. I've played it on PC.
Oh,
I'm actually going to play it on PS4 because I can sit on my couch and play on my big 60-inch TV instead of on my 23-inch monitor. So we'll see. We'll see how I might, if the frame rate's like super bad, I might have to go PC Master Race and switch back to the PC. We'll see.
Yeah, you get that beginning scene of Geralt in a tub. You'll enjoy that on the 60 inches. I'm looking forward to Dark Souls Remastered. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been itching to play Dark Souls again, and I keep preventing myself because it's so close. It's just right around the corner here. It's I really want to play that. And
is that 30 FPS, 60 FPS?
I believe that it's a 60 FPS bump. I would need to confirm that. They added some better lighting and some better textures and some of that kind of stuff. I just figured, if you have the option, playing Dark Souls now or playing a remastered in, a few weeks, just wait, play it again.
Yeah.
So, any other exciting games coming up that I have missed out on? I mean, I totally missed out on BattleTech. I probably shouldn't have. I didn't play that one at all. But I've heard there's some bugs with it though.
Yeah, there are, but if you don't hit them, it's BattleTech, which is pretty nice. Because I'm a big BattleTech fan, so there was definitely some really cool stuff. I'm trying to think of like stuff that's coming. See, I think the problem is remember Red Dead shuttled, I think, 4 of the major titles to next year because of their release schedule. So 4 of the major titles delayed, which I will say I'm interested to see if Dead Island 2 has a trailer, because they showed it like multiple years ago, and it's janky as hell. But I actually enjoy that game. And I've always enjoyed the smaller devs and publishers like the Deep Silvers and stuff. So I'm just more interested in what they do and what they show. I mean, Ashen's Microsoft, but I think that we might see some stuff from them. There was one rumor that there's a big IP actually that got to a B company, which if that's true, and it's big, like if you hear about it, everybody's going to hear about it. If that turns out to be true, that would be very cool. I think that what's the other one? Devolver Digital. They've got some cool stuff. So I'm excited, and I want to see if their E3 is crazy. Did you guys watch last year's E3?
I did, and I hated it. Dude, I was so pissed because I was that whole week I was doing restreams of all of the E3 press events, and I was going in with let's get some news, let's get some stuff, and theirs had none of that, and I rage quit out. I watched for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe a little longer, and I fuck this, I'm done. I don't care anymore.
TarmackHasNoHumor.com is a website you need to create. I'm just joking.
Indeed.
I get it. But dude, we were in Discord. We had just got done with one of the conferences, and somebody said, "Are you watching this crazy ass other conference?" And they sent me the link, and I personally, it was that they took the piss out of everybody without being personal, which I think is vital. You shouldn't. if you want to attack another person, there better be a reason, and I still don't even know if it should be done. And what they did is they like attacked the situations. The earliest access shit cracked me up, because we're at that point now. We are at the point where games are earliest access. They barely run, you know, and Hunt Showdown is like 1 FPS, or used to be. I think they patched it, but it was so cool to see. It was so cool to see. Yeah, now it's 3. It's tripled its performance, right? Yeah. But that was so funny, man, to see them and see her out there. And just when she said earliest access, I was like,
yeah, I can totally appreciate it. Like if I go back and watch it knowing what it is, I can totally appreciate the jokes. But at the time, I was in the mode of, we're looking for news. We're looking for new things, and what the fuck is this? This doesn't.
I just don't understand. See you getting mad. I've never seen you get mad, so it'd be sort of interesting. It would have been cool if you had recorded it.
I was not happy. Yeah, I believe that they have commented, because I did see something from them, that this year's will have real news in it. Okay. I don't think they're doing the same take the piss out of everything. I'm sure that they'll do something ridiculous, because that's just the kind of company they are. They like to play it, you know, a little bit ridiculous, but I don't know. The only other one that I saw that I had totally forgotten about was Detroit. Is out in a couple of weeks too. Become
David
Human. So
Cage.
That's another PlayStation 4 exclusive there for you, Wells. I'm a little concerned that it's not going to have the replay value that they're pushing that it will, and that it's going to have a very small number of scenarios, because they're trying to go with this crazy variety and this massive web of different ways that you can play it. If you haven't seen it, basically, Wells, it's you're going through different scenarios and having to pick up clues along the way and find information along the way, so that when you get towards the end of the scenario, you're talking to another individual. Everything that you did leading up to them gives you different options in how to resolve the situation, right? So the first thing is this android has taken a person hostage, and you're an android as well, right? So you're going through the room where it all happened. You're picking up pieces of information. It looks really cool. Now, David Cage is a real hit or miss kind of guy where it comes to things, and he's had his own studio rumors and whatnot going on lately, but it's still one that I would like to play. It looks very interesting.
Interesting.
Did either one of you guys play Omicron, which is a very old game of his? Did you play Fahrenheit or Indigo Prophecy, depending on where you were? Either one of you guys play those games?
I don't think I've played any of them.
I have not.
So Heavy Rain then would probably be the one that you have played.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people dislike him, you know, whatever. I totally can see why they do and stuff. I'm interested in it overall, just as a interactive title, because The Council is another game that's sort of like a Telltale game, where you run around, you do different things in the same areas, but you can see all these variabilities. That's fun. That's if it's done well, that's actually some of my most enjoyable games. So if it's done well, that's going to be awesome. The problem I think that he has sometimes is a Peter Molyneux kind of situation, where he gets a little into his own head, and it becomes an echo chamber. And the feedback that people may have for him when it comes to writing and stuff doesn't get into the game. It's just him saying, "Oh no, I'm for sure doing this. This is the way we're doing it." And you get some oddities that can occur in some of his titles.
I'm writing it this way because I'm David Cage and
I
know best.
Right. Well, yeah, and the thing is he's running the place, so he sort of does, because he gets to choose the focus. But at the same time, games are a group effort now. It's one of the reasons why I get mad when people talk about a bad game or whatever, and they only mention one person. Like if they're a lead that did an E3 or something, they sort of blame that one person. But it's like, dude, there's like 200 people that worked on that game, good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's good, you should also celebrate them too, because the QA guy who's getting $9 an hour, pushing 5,000 times, it deserves the same kudos, to me at least, that some of the people we see do.
Yep, I agree. Well, if we're at I think that's about all that's really exciting coming out. Maybe Runner 3, if you like those games.
What is it?
Runner 3? You know, Bit Trip Runner and those sorts of things. So it's just a one button game, but I don't know. That was just another one that I was familiar with. I think we're about done. So why don't you give us a little bit of synopsis of what you're up to over the next little while, what you got coming up, and then we can all get on with our lives after the show's over.
Go for it, Wells.
Well, let's see. I am still playing Minecraft. I'm still playing Isaac. I'm still playing Far Cry. Not much has changed since last month. That's also my plans for the foreseeable future as far as content creation goes, and I'll probably be here next month as well when Tarmack reminds me the night beforehand that we're supposed to do this podcast thing every so often. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the plan. You know, main channel will continue to be Minecraft and buildy sandbox games. Second channel will continue to be everything else that isn't Minecraft, and yeah, that's about it.
Have you considered a capture card for the PlayStation?
I have a capture card.
Oh.
I have not yet used the capture card, despite the fact that I have had the capture card for about 6 months.
Then you should totally capture your first playthrough of Bloodborne.
Oh, dear God.
I'm just saying.
Maybe. I won't rule it out. It is a possibility. I've been sitting on that Elgato for like 6 months because I bought it when I bought the Xbox One a while ago.
Yeah.
And then I just never got around to actually like setting it up.
The first playthrough is always more entertaining to watch than the second.
Yeah, when people are coming to grips with all the weapons and stuff.
Oh shit, what's happening? I don't understand. Yeah. Karak, you got tons of content all the time, so...
Yeah, it's going to be Pillars of Eternity 2's review is next week. And then, Justice. Oh, jeez. I can't remember. It's a 2D fighting game. It's like Streets of Rage. It's called something Justice. I just got the game up and running on the Xbox. I'm going to play that for a review. Yeah, it's I can't believe I can't remember the name because I think it's like Raging Justice. I ended up having to contact them a couple times, and got the code. And I'm a big Raging Justice. So I'm a big fan of like Streets of Rage, the older 2D, Double Dragon stuff. So that's what that looks like. That'll be something I'm really excited to cover. And then for us, the big news is like we're not gonna. There's no real changes to the channel in the way I'm doing any content. The reviews, there'll be just as many reviews, but I am adding some stuff. Like I started doing some post review videos. So I did God of War, and then like a day later, 2 days later, I said, "What do you think of God of War?" And we're doing those kind of videos, like to get more of a community thing. Cool. And that turned out to work out really well because then in our podcast we cover what people said. So we go through the comments and we read like, okay, this person had an issue with this. And then that podcast, the international podcast that we do weekly, is going to go live now instead of being. So it was recorded and then went. I would upload it later. We're just going to start doing it live on Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube to allow for people to ask questions live. Because a lot of times, I'm sure you get it too, where people are like, "Man, I wish I was there because I would have asked this question," like, or I would have corrected Karak because he's a dumbass. Like those are the kind of things I actually want because if you could go off on a side tangent and be wrong for like 15 minutes, and then like one of us will go, "Oh shit, I just looked that up," and like that's not correct. And so the idea that people can jump in is something that I've done a couple times on the channel, but never done with these guys. So our last one was 7 people, which turned out really well. Just so many people, and I thought it was going to be a disaster. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a disaster. I invited too many, by the way. I should admit that was 3 too many. And we got in, and I'm like, let's try it. Discord's bandwidth isn't high. The requirements aren't that high. And
what's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst is you just get like everybody talking over each other. And instead, it turned out really well. And that's about it that I can talk about right now. But yeah.
Okay. Lots of exciting things that you can't. That's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that brings us to a close. For myself, I don't have an awful lot. We'll be doing the news wrap up tomorrow. There are a fair number of those sorts of topics. Again, NVIDIA and some of these things. So I'll be doing that. I don't have anything game-wise coming up at the moment. Mostly because developers hate me and I'm too small, but I'll get out and do a little bit of asking. I haven't really been doing much of that. So, that's it. That's all. I'm going to go play some Beat Saber. So here you can enjoy some Beat Saber on the way out. This is the song Beat Saber from Beat Saber. I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much, boys, for showing up and discussing games with me.
Thank you.
It is always good.
A pleasure.
And we will talk to you later. Bye-bye, guys.
Adios.